How does a guy just sit and think, I'm going to be solving the bus booking problem in India?
Can there be a time or can there be a player who can become Indigo for buses and possibly become the largest bus operator in the country? The reason we decided to join hands with Chennai Super King because I think it is one of the most passionate franchise.
Are there things that keep you up at night thinking, oh, what are they doing next?
A lot of bus drivers are excited to use Instagram, especially post midnight while driving, which is horrendous if you close your eyes and think about it, right?
What are the challenges that you're facing to ensure that your mobile app or your platform is seamless on the phone?
You're able to see inside and outside of your bus, which you're going to board after 10 days.
And then now we're talking about 4,000 operators.
You have to do things wrong to not grow at a lightning speed.
What was the most epic trip that you've ever taken in your life?
Very recently when I was traveling to Kanpur, like the driver dropped me 200 meters before the dropping point. And in this kind of a heat, if you have to travel 200 meters to catch an auto, the difference could be a heat stroke.
Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the Mad Podcast. Today we have with us Mr. Rohit Sharma, who is COO of AbhiBus, one of India's largest bus booking platforms. We're talking about a company that manages over 350,000 plus routes, 4,000 plus operators, and manages travelers like you and me. You've definitely heard of them, but you might remember them from their time of acquisition or when they partnered with Chennai Super Kings and MS Dhoni. And we're going to be talking about that, but we're going to dive deeper and talk about the operational magic behind every booking and about how they survived COVID. So if you're into tech, travel, or just curious about how digital India works, stay tuned for this conversation. So hi Rohit, how are you?
Hi Shagun, I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so while I was preparing for this conversation, obviously I was researching you and your story, and there was a very funny thought that came to me, and I was thinking, how does a guy just sit and think, I'm going to be solving the bus booking problem in India that's been there for decades in the country. This is a highly reliable travel medium, and I'm going to solve the problems here. What was that inspiration? Where did this journey begin?
Yeah, I mean, see, again, one of the exciting part when I just joined AbhiBus was I just turned 30. And I thought, my ex-manager used to say that your body develops different kind of hormones when you cross a decade, like 20 to 30 and 30 to 40, and you suddenly get a little spiritual, right? When I got to hear this problem about bus, as we were discussing behind the stage also, that this is one of the most vulnerable and uncertain mode of travel for any passenger, rich or poor, right? Women or men, elderly or young. A lot of things that can go wrong in a transportation exist in buses. We don't have great boarding points. We have not so well-trained staff, and we have a very fragmented supply. Unlike in trains where the supply is managed by one entity, flights where the supply is managed by various but very professionally run entities. Buses have a few thousand entities they speak different language, they have different upbringing, and even customer expectations also vary. So when we looked at it, we asked ourselves that, can there be a time when there is an Indigo for buses? Can there be a time or can there be a player who can become Indigo for buses? And we thought, yes, as an aggregator, we could give a fair chance to all suppliers to raise their bar and possibly become the largest bus operator in the country. So that time, what was fascinating for me was I just heard that India's domestic flight travelers is going to touch 4 lakh daily. And I was living in Hyderabad, and I thought more than 4 lakh people catch bus every day from Hyderabad itself.
True.
So the mass problem that we were going to cater to was something that was very, very exciting for me.
Yeah. So I think, people who travel in bus, they were often looked over, and, I think because flights, again, are slightly for a more premium set of customers, they're looked at more often. So I think you're addressing a really big, part of the country right now. So that is brilliant. And I was just thinking, numbers and business, we're going to be talking about that. But what you do affects real people. It affects their plans, their memories, their experiences. If something was to happen to your system, someone who wants to go back home for the Diwali break, that plan would get ruined. So there are real lives that are getting affected by your product. So I want to know, how are you keeping customers at the center of everything that you do from an operational standpoint?
Yes, we often discuss this on our floor, that if you want to solve for the problem, you have to be the the customer itself, right? So we travel a lot by buses, right? We try to not travel by trains or flights wherever possible. And when we travel, we see a problem that we relate to, me as a person, for my sister, for my mother, for my relatives, right?
Yeah.
We have thousands of fascinating examples where we feel like that if I were into this situation, how would I have dealt? So like very recently when I was traveling to Kanpur, like the driver dropped me 200 meters before the dropping point. And in this kind of a heat, if you have to travel 200 meters to catch an auto, it could be the difference could be a heat stroke. So now you as a aggregator think about that problem and keep thinking and taking back that problem to the home, and figuring out with the use of technology, if I'm able to solve this problem, I'm not just going to get a few customers, but I'm actually going to get probably a benchmark created for the industry that in the future thousands of bus operators will adopt to.
Yeah.
One such solution that we found is when I was traveling about 6 years back, I realized that in Hyderabad, you have metro pillars identified as the boarding points. So when you book a bus ticket, they'll tell you that in the ticket it says metro pillar number 500, for example, right? Now, what nobody knows is that metro pillar, is your boarding point going to be on the left side of the metro pillar or the right side of the metro pillar? We went to the drawing board and realized there were less than 10% bus operators that were having the live tracking feature. And that was the time when Ola and Uber were established. So as a consumer, if I'm accustomed to looking into the map and knowing where my cab is and not having that feature for the buses is a pseudo crime. And we have worked hard enough over last 6 years to ensure close to about 100% of the buses right now have a GPS device integrated. The upkeep of those devices, the maintenance, the live feed, and also the backtracking and testing whether those devices were working or not. It may not yield an immediate result as a business, but when we hear our feedback and all of these things put together, when we go back and tell the consumers that we are the only 4.8 star rated bus app in the world, right? It takes 1,000 such heartfelt experiences and probably solving a few dozen of them. All of them keep aggregating and let that customer motivated because he tracked the bus for the first time on AbhiBus. And now he wants to tell everyone, you know what, you can travel by the buses because buses are now trackable, right? Because you mentioned earlier about the airport part. One of the common discussion that we have in our office is that there is an airport look, but there is no bus look. You celebrate your airport travel. You have journeys and memories about your childhood train journeys. Like you went to the Nani house and you had a window seat. But not many people talk about bus journeys because, once again, I think they're full of surprises and uncertainties. We talk about if AbhiBus can make bus journeys predictable, I think that would be the biggest reward that we could have in the future.
Right. And I mean, from that response, I get a lot of sense of empathy for customers and for travelers. So that is commendable. I mean, that is brilliant. So, you could have worked in any industry in the country. There's tech, there's finance, there's e-commerce, there's so much out there. What made you stick to travel tech? And are there moments when, during peak season or just times when maybe operations are down, do you ever get nervous? And what inspires you to wake up the next day and get back right into it?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is I love to travel. I travel a lot. And I think I still love to travel by buses more because I feel that the common mode of transportation for rich and affluent or people who maybe earn more than 50,000 rupees a month or a lakh rupees a month is flight, right? First thing that comes to your mind is flight. But being a tall person, being somebody who travels a lot, flights are not the most comfortable mode of transport. Yes, they save a lot of time, but then you also miss those beautiful journeys and the ghat views and so forth. I think the love for travel is certainly maybe at the top of the list, which motivated me to work for AbhiBus. And I think, like I said, I think while I was traveling also, and like many people in our families and friends, there were more bad things to speak about bus travel than good, which starts from entering the bus, having the driver who never greets you, right, to finding a seat that might be dirty, the curtain might be broken. And the fun part is, Shagun, that all of those are used as a motivation even today to fix what is broken. So we launched Assured about 3 years back, which again, when we launched it, on paper, these things look impossible. Assured in the first line on the white paper said that this is a program that lets you travel for free for anything that goes wrong in the bus.
Oh,
And
wow.
it still is probably the only program in the world which gives you that confidence that don't worry, book this assured bus from AbhiBus and nothing will go wrong. Obviously, things can go wrong, but we will take care of it. We have an instant customer support service who will talk to you, giving you that sense of surety. We will take strict action against the driver or conductor if they do not, if they cross their line. And also, if some of these things like, your curtain is not clean or your AC vent is not working or your charging socket is not working, which for ordinary could be an excuse that why are these such a big thing? But for one person, one of these attributes could be a game of, maybe a few dollars lost or some opportunity missed. So we said, if one of these things go wrong, you just tell us, take a snap or just use your assured helpline on AbhiBus app. Don't have to call us and we'll give you the full money back instantaneously. We were probably the first OTA in general pre-COVID to allow instant refunds, which has a cost. Because you understand business, I'll tell you, when you refund somebody a credit card refund, like when you get the money back on credit card, it takes time. And also it has a cost. But if you want to expedite it, there are solutions available which cost you probably equivalent to the commission that you would have made by selling that ticket. But for us, again, empathy and heartfelt problem. My first journey with bus when I was earning 10,000 rupees, right, back in 2006. Now, if I would have booked a bus ticket that costed me 2,000 rupees and I want to cancel it and the refund comes after 3 days, I could probably miss a lot of necessities in my life, right? So we took an oath in 2019 that we want to process every single refund within a fraction of minutes or seconds. And we still do it, right? Even if it costed us a lot. So yeah, I mean, all of us at AbhiBus, we absolutely love traveling by bus or even alternative modes also. And when you look at a problem, when you carry back that problem at home, you feel like fixing it. It can't just leave your mind.
Right. I think your vision kind of, it takes it one step further than just satisfying the customer. It's also about changing an entire infrastructure. So that's really inspirational. So now that you're talking about traveling so much, what was the most epic trip that you've ever taken in your life and the one that you remember even now?
You see, probably the most epic trip was not the most pleasant one. And again, we travel because we want to take that motivation of what to fix. So it was from Hyderabad to Bombay, one of the longest circuits. And one thing that we learned is that if the bus enters Bombay before 6 or 7 a.m., it is a great journey. But if the bus is late, it is a nightmare, right? I had to get down at Bandra, right? And we chose bus because only bus can drop you at Bandra. A train don't go to Bandra, flight can't go. There's an advantage over that, right? But when it hits that kind of peak traffic in the morning hours, that 3 to 4 hours is gone. Probably what added insult to injury was that I don't know, it was that journey only, but the mobile network also gets very squeezed. Your data stops working. You can't entertain yourself. You can't make calls also. So that last 3-4 hours adds a lot of frustration. AbhiBus as an aggregator doesn't just work with or for the customer. We work with the associations also. So we took this point to the association saying that can't we time buses entering Bombay or even for that matter bigger cities such that customer don't have to suffer, because it is not helping anyone. That 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. bus journey inside Bombay is burning a lot of fuel, is frustrating the customer, and the driver who has driven the entire night has wasted 3 hours of his quality life which he could spend with his family. So, and there were corrective actions being taken. Hyderabad is an example which was one of the first cities to allow mini vans within the cities, because buses being a heavy vehicle take time. So now you have anything from the Force Traveler, which is like a 12-seater which can maneuver faster, or even some operators now use Innovas to navigate the customer from the city center to the fag end of the city where the highways start, saving a lot of traffic congestion. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, many of these things may not count in business, or we may not even count the blessings that we got, but we are very proud that we contributed, to that mission that solved, something for the customer. It reduced some bit of traffic of those, 45-seater buses in the peak traffic hours. Now buses don't enter Hyderabad city as an example, or even we are planning that same thing for Chennai also. Chennai has moved their major bus boarding point from Coimbatore, which is in the city center, to Kilambakam, which is at the fag end of the city. Part of that as an aggregator, we take a lot of pride saying that we really helped that vision with the authorities.
Right. So every person, irrespective of who they are, there are always moments in life when you realize that, I need to change something. This is, and they introduce changes in their life that they never really thought could happen. So as a leader, when you take these decisions, it affects everyone, not just you or your customers, but also your team. So what were those 2 or 3 moments in your life, in your journey, especially at AbhiBus, that really changed the way that you make decisions?
Yeah.
In general, and also when it comes to your strategies and your decisions that you take for your operations?
Yeah. No, actually, I can think of exactly 2 examples where, for a coincidence, in both cases, women were involved, and we were extremely emotional thinking of those problems when we heard those stories.
Yeah.
One problem we were able to solve, by the way, which we are very proud of. Second is still yet to be solved. So one case was where there was a woman traveling within the south, shorter route, but she was pregnant, and there was a bus that got cancelled, and she was given an alternative bus, and she was offered the last seat. And if you've traveled by bus, you know that the last seats can be a little bumpy.
True.
So when we heard her feedback, we literally cried thinking that we could not help it. So we did one tech solution where when you cancel a bus, we motivate the bus operator to give you the same seat if you provide an alternative. As a pregnant woman, I would have selected seat 5A because I know it's in the middle, it is less bumpy, and it is at the bottom. So there's some calculative, certain decision that I took. But just because that bus is merged or cancelled into another bus, I shouldn't be given the back seat. So we solved that using technology. There was another incident where there was a teacher from Amity University. She was traveling to Kerala. She was traveling to Trivandrum to attend a conference. The conference got over. She reaches the bus station at midnight. She had a pre-booked bus from 11:30, and the bus never arrived.
Oh no.
So we hear her. We read her tweet at post midnight, and it was full of pain that I can't speak the language. I can't talk to anybody, right?
Yeah.
And I can't even find an alternative. We could have provided a short-term solution. We booked a hotel for her. We gave her the stay and all. But language in journeys is something that we want to fix, right?
Yeah.
And thank God we are more closer with the use of AI that now, LLM models can understand and convert and translate on real-time basis with the lightning fast speed.
Yeah.
So when like you mentioned, these are the 2-3 probably junctures where we thought that we have to work harder, right?
Right.
The revenue, the growth, the EBITDA, the valuations, by design, they're going to happen because we are so blessed that we are working in India, right? We were just talking before this podcast started that the per capita is between $2,500 to $3,000. Imagine when it gets to $6,000 and $7,000. The paying capacity of the same Indian, the Gen Zs and the D-Gens and the millennials, will all spend.
Yeah.
So the business growth, I think, is written, and it's not just for AbhiBus or travel or bus in specific. I think for every industry in India, you have to do things wrong to not grow at a lightning speed. So with that motivation at our back end, I think business growth is certain. If you're not solving problem, probably you will solve slower than the industry growth.
Yeah.
And if you solve certain problems on daily and weekly basis, you are ought to grow at 3, 4, or even 10x faster than the industry growth.
Absolutely. So the travel industry has been through quite a very wild ride, I would say, especially in the last few years. And I think just the way that we experience travel has changed. Now with platforms like AbhiBus, if I need to book a ticket, I can go to my phone and I can do it online. It's just as simple as ordering food. Sometimes that's what it feels like. But, again, it's not that simple, I think, I'm sure. And there must have been some challenges that you encountered in this journey. So were there things maybe when it came to customer behavior or just technical adoption that really caught you off guard and you were like, I did not expect that?
The most challenging part is that as an aggregator, we are a bridge between the customer and the bus operator. So we actually handle 2 customers on both sides. While one side of the customer has extreme expectation, rightly so, because you have paid for it, right?
Yeah.
And you pay certain premium also because you booked bus last minute. Your expectation is that I should get the best bus ticket. And the other side, you have a extremely fragmented supply side where for them, it is the status quo. It is chalta hai attitude, right? Probably, I think the most challenging part is to convince the supply side to cater to the modern, young, and expecting customers' mindset, right? So I'll tell you an example where we struggle a lot. So like for mostly supplier always think about the business side of things, right? So I did not get the occupancy. I got only 10 seats filled out of 40. I can't afford to run this this bus, right? So I have the right to cancel this bus, call those 10 customers and say, I will provide an alternative bus, or my next bus is scheduled after 3 hours. You can sit in that bus. Now, on the human side of things, if somebody tells me to wait for 3 hours unplanned, it could be heartbreaking. So we always try to give that benefit of doubt to the customer, because it's not that the customer is always right, because I'm also the customer. I also travel and I do expect my flight to be on time, my train to be trackable. So we try very hard to convince the operator that it is not okay that you cannot let a customer sit in the other bus, which is after 3 hours or even after half an hour, right? And we believe that we are getting success every day passing, thanks to the internet penetration, thanks to the rapid growth of online adoption, where customers now don't want to walk into the ISBT Kashmiri Gate or Coimbatore Chennai, right, or even Lakdi Ka Pul Hyderabad. They want things predictable. They want a particular seat which they want, right? They want a specific discount also. They want to see the photos of the buses. So speaking about how we fix this extreme challenge, we told the operator that, you know what, we'll become the first OTA in the world to go and capture every single bus inside and out. We used modern tech. We created an app from the scratch which has more than 200 touch points that capture every single bus in the country, creates a 360 layout so that me, before boarding the bus, I can first see, is this seat where I will fit in as a tall or a big person, or is this seat clean enough for my liking, right? And then I will decide whether I want to go with this bus operator or the bus operator who doesn't care about the cleanliness. It's getting captured. Like they say, internet can't lie, right? You can't hide things from the internet. Once it is captured, it becomes a proof of concept for the customer to decide whether they want to. And I very strongly believe that suppliers who care about the customer's sentiments, they are the ones who grow the fastest. Right? So you cannot ask the customer to wait for 3 hours and sit in another bus. You can't have a stained seat which was not cleaned for 10 days and expect customer to again use your services. He might use AbhiBus again, because AbhiBus is giving you 500 options on that route to select between a stained seat versus a very brand new and clean seat. Thanks to the internet adoption, we are very excited that more and more operators are coming back to us. They're appreciating that we are bridging that gap. They're appreciating that we are motivating the suppliers to raise the bar and give a better quality. And at the end of the day, we believe that if the customer gets benefited, and this is the Easter egg, right? If the customer gets benefited, he'll pay more.
Right.
And if customer pays more, everybody gets benefited.
Then it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
AbhiBus has clearly had a very sensational journey, I would say. And you guys started back in 2008. And the world back then was very different, especially the internet was a very different space. I think back then you wouldn't even feel comfortable transacting online. And now my entire world would fit in that little phone. So how was that journey for you? And also, I think there's a lot of democratization that's happening for a lot of customers. You know, a lot of industries are doing it, and you're doing that for travel. What are you doing from, again, an operational standpoint to really make sure that travel and bus travel is accessible and easy and convenient for every person out there?
Yeah. So a very interesting question. See, AbhiBus, if you were to understand, had two avatars. So the first half of the life was around being a software company which did a very important task to convince the bus operators that they need digitization. So we all use Book My Show, we all enjoy selecting that seat, but we never cared which is that software company which went to every single screen and told them that you need to have this seat layout in a software. And having the pricing controls, having various sort of checks and balances. So we were the first technology company that went and knocked the door of every single government RTCs and urged them that you cannot, somewhere we saw the future and we have to have the seat first digitized. And we were not the OTA in the first avatar, right? So we worked with UPS RTC back in 2007-8. We worked with Andhra Pradesh government. We worked with a lot of governments to first bring their long route buses onto a software. which if at all they were going to be an OTA, they would consume those APIs and sell those tickets online. So a good 7-8 years went into acquiring those customer from a SaaS perspective. We were a enterprise chain. And at peak, we had about 500 private bus operators as well, which were first time using a technology to sell the tickets on other OTA platforms. And then just before COVID, when we started realizing that we have such an experience of understanding what India wants, how they travel, what are the pricing engines, and the customer behavior in general, because we were finally capturing every single touch point from boarding to dropping to complaints to NPS, we launched the app and the website, right, which was in 2017, 2018, right? And we became very quickly the fastest growing OTA and also the default second largest OTA back in the day, right? That time was very different than 2008 because technology was changing at a breakneck speed, right? And now if you look at the second part of that second avatar, which is AI revolution, the speed of technology is even faster, right? What we talk every day on the floor is the idea to production. If you take time, you're not just going to lose the business opportunity, but you're also going to let the customer hanging in a problem that nobody else will solve. So we spoke about having that motivation to solve problem, but it has a business benefit also. I'll give you a simple example. When the IPL started, we were very keen to partner with Mahendra Singh Dhoni's team, right? We all love him, right? And incidentally, our group companies had partnership with Virat Kohli's team. So Confirm Ticket works with RCB. Indigo has Rohit Sharma as their brand ambassador, and we were very excited with the South connection and Tamil Nadu and etc. So we onboarded CSK, and it all happened very quickly. But we also had to complement something with a technology solution. You can't just have a brand ambassador. Everybody does that. So the day we signed him on the second or third match after the IPL started, we thought we have to do something for our customers also. So we came up with this idea, our marketing team came up with this idea that every time somebody hits a boundary, we should reward our customers. So we launched a campaign called Super 40 and Super 60, which was very unique in the travel segment. If somebody hits a 6, you get 60% discount on your bus journey for very brief period. So we wanted to also test, like, is our customer really going to be in the T20 mode? And it worked like a charm, right? We got the highest number of bookings in a day. Every match, every time there is a 6, we get record-breaking hourly bookings, etc., etc. So the reason I brought this idea is to show you that in this current AI-driven environment where the customer expects everything now, if you are the traditional brand who works like 2008, which will come up with an idea today, launch after 6 months, I don't think you have a chance to grow the way we would want ourselves to grow, right? So this campaign is one recent example that makes me believe that as long as our teams have that kind of a passion to deliver something fast, and this very complex sounding problem was presented and made live in less than 24 hours, where we had to figure out how to get the score lives, and then when 6 hits, you have to identify that as a parameter, enable the discount, tell the entire world that the discount is live, and then stop also, so that the customer remains excited for the next boundary.
I was actually going to come to that. I mean, this entire campaign is brilliant, but also how did you make that possible in terms of operations? Because I can't imagine the traffic and the people and the offers. How did you pre-plan all of that?
So like I said, I think nothing of this was pre-planned. So that is sometimes in startups, when you keep that surprise angle for your team, they're also excited. And I personally believe that a lot of attrition today in startups or technology in general happens because it's like in a relationship when you lose excitement. You keep doing the same monotonous stuff. We believe that when the more we bring these kind of challenges and problem statements, I think we have an extremely excited, bunch of people on the floor who just want these kind of problems to keep coming in, right? So, and because when we do this and we have a culture of reading those customer reviews and celebrating them on the floor, it immediately resonates into that junior engineer who would have maybe done that programming, or that designer who would have just made that template. When he reads the customer's response, the analyst response, the critics response, because in internet there are a lot of critics also who really appreciate and completely destroy your campaigns also. They feel this really motivating that, and one exciting thing that I'll tell you is AbhiBus is based out of Hyderabad. Now, when you think of startups, you think of Gurgaon, Noida, Bangalore, probably Bombay. There is a sense of pride, which is also that kind of a ordinary doing an extraordinary stuff, right? A lot of our people, whether they are from Hyderabad or somebody like me who's from Ambala, but I'm stationed in Hyderabad, it is a great matter of pride that you are in a smaller city with limited resources, not a very conducive environment for startups, and you are able to create something which is magical. And we tell our teams that as long as we have this kind of a internal competition between cities, India will grow, because you don't want only 3 startups hub. You probably want 50 startups hub in country for us to grow the way we want to grow.
Right, absolutely. So now I think I have a really spicy question for you. Clearly, travel is a very competitive space, and you've got competitors like Redbus, who've been here for a very long time, and Make My Trip, that has huge marketing campaigns and budgets. So how are you navigating the space? How is AbhiBus navigating the space? And also, are there things that keep you up at night thinking, oh, what are they doing next? Or things that make you feel very confident? You know what? We've got this figured out. No one can beat us here. So what's this industry space like?
Yeah, no, definitely there are things that keep me and the team up at night, and it is surely not the competition, it is mostly the customer.
Okay.
Both starts with C, but right, customers, I think, keeps us more grounded, because there are 2 reasons. See, one is that this market is extremely, extremely huge and still growing, right? And the second and the best part is that the online penetration among the bus industry is one of the lowest among all alternative modes. Like flights, I think, have about 70-80%, probably upwards of 80% booked online. Trains are also pretty much the same, while buses are just about less than a quarter online penetrated. So that makes us believe that we have a 3/4 of the customers waiting to get disrupted or being given a motivation to book online. That is one of the reasons I think we really focus on customer problems and product fixes more than even numbers in general, right?
Yeah. Have you ever caught yourself kind of stalking your competitors and seeing what are they up to?
We do that. I mean, we do check the customer behavior, the ratings, the features that they like and don't like. We do read the reviews of not just our competition, but even all platforms in general, whether it talks about the UPI penetration that people want to use, or the kind of credit cards that they want to use for payments, or the kind of expectation they have from apps in general. I'll give you a simple example. Speaking of competition, Apple's penetration in India is growing. iPhone's users are growing very fast, right? So they have a feature called Dynamic Island, which is that section on the top. Now they released a functionality to utilize that space. Now we didn't want a travel company to adopt that feature and then we react to it. We were rather looking at Google Maps or even Zomato utilizing that dynamic island for their delivery tracking. Why can't we use that for our bus tracking, right? So there are a lot of flavors of competition that gives you that motivation, and it might not be necessarily been in the travel segment only, it could be other way also.
Yeah, right. Okay, so obviously it's been a very exciting journey for AbhiBus, but I want to know how do you see yourself positioned in the next 3 to 5 years, considering that, again, this is a very dynamic industry. You've carved out a niche for yourself in the bus booking segment, and now, there's expansion into hotels and trains. So in the next 3 to 5 years, how do you see yourself being positioned in the industry?
See, while the journey of AbhiBus is close to 18 years old, we really feel that it is just about 3-4 years when post-COVID, the industry was reborn, especially the bus side of things. And also AbhiBus was also reborn. We had an amazing partnership with the Indigo group, right? After that, I feel we are still at the toddler stage where we are learning very fast. Probably next 3 years, I see that the industry landscape will change very fast. There are certain disciplinary innovation that AbhiBus is doing that will shape up the way industry works. One of them is the new buses, right? We are again the industry first to bring that new bus tag with a validated number plate age. So we want to tell the customer that the bus that you're going to book is not just but going to be this old. So just think about a bus that you're booking for your journey tomorrow. AbhiBus tells you that this bus that you will receive is going to be 3 years old. Okay. So there is a mix of knowing that number plate finding the age from the RTO, and at the same time you using AI models to predict whether the bus operator will send this particular bus.
Yeah.
Now imagine that in next 3 years, the operators who do not have new buses, they're going to suffer.
Yeah.
We don't want them to suffer, but we want to motivate them through some other programs to go and talk to the bus operators, to the OEMs,
Yeah.
to the suppliers, and get more buses. You have old buses, work on fixing them and get that age tag working for you.
Yeah.
So imagine if in last 6 months, this new feature has changed the customer mindset, that nobody, I would say most of the customer now prefer to book a new bus and
Yeah.
they're ready to pay the premium also. With that, in 3 years, it is not just going to help the new bus operators, it is going to disrupt the industry, where more and more operators will go back to their banker and say, I want to pay that 5-10% down payment, and I want to replace 10 of my 10 years old buses with a brand new bus. So the short answer is, I think AbhiBus is definitely excited to contribute to the behavior change of the industry. That's our first war cry. If we solve customer problems and we serve what they deserve,
Yeah.
then there'll be a massive change in the way the suppliers provide to the customer, and the customers will be ready to pay more for that.
Right. So you're a seasoned traveler, but I want to know, what kind of traveler are you? Are you the one who packs like a week in advance and has a very elaborate itinerary and you're like ready and on the go? Or are you someone who's really chill about it and, you know, a very go with the flow kind of person?
You see, I travel light. I don't overpack. I also have little overconfidence on the quick delivery app. So I feel like even if it is a T-shirt or a perfume, you can just order from Zepto or Blinkit or Instamart almost in every city today. So I feel a little confident that, you know, I don't have to really overplan or stuff my bag with things. I usually pack my bag probably half an hour before leaving for the station.
Right. I think these quick commerce platforms have really spoiled all of us.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the acquisition bit, because I think that was a really a time where AbhiBus was making a lot of headlines, right? So I want you to walk me through that entire journey, you know, behind the scenes of what was going on during that acquisition phase. How did you deal with it in terms of cultural changes, strategies, vision, and you know, people were of course being affected by it. There were teams and there were people and there were processes in place. So just walk me through this entire journey of that acquisition.
Yes, see, we strongly believe that this marriage was made in heavens. It was a marriage of like-minded people. I think when we sat on the discussion table, we realized that there are a lot of things that Indigo experienced, that AbhiBus also experienced. The way we approach customer, the ethics, and also the passion that the teams carry. It didn't take much of time to really decide that, you know, we wanted to be part of the same group. It really helped both ways, because again the passion was same. The travel industry struggled during COVID. Our merger happened in August 2021, and it was fresh in our minds that how both the teams stood together in their own groups and said, you know, we are ready to, you know, sacrifice our personal happiness for a few months just to make sure that the ship or bus in this case remains afloat. And we heard the same stories from the Indigo founders also, right? Both teams were, or both brands were, so to say, underdogs, right? Both had, as our management teams discussed, had that kind of a cockroach attitude that it's been. And very incidentally, both teams right now are 18 years old, right? So it's like the birth happened. It's like a Karan Arjun story where, you know, reincarnation, then you meet after probably a decade after the previous birth, and then it all just, it was a perfect match, I think. And we have heard experts saying, and we also discussed every day in the office, that most of the mergers fail, right? So if this merger worked, and we are in the probably starting 5th years of existence, and growing fast, shows that it's a good merger.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to know about, you know, what does the resource sharing look like? Because like you mentioned, you've got tons of data on customer behavior and how people are moving across the country. I think you could say that you know how India moves now, especially because of your, you know, incredible data insights. And of course, Indigo has been in the industry for just as long. So how are you guys leveraging each other's data and tech?
See, the first part is the customer is common. There is a lot of cross-pollination. That you can't say that this particular persona is only a bus customer or a flight customer, right? That has really helped, because both AbhiBus, Indigo, and even Confirm Ticket is catering to the same customer profile who likes to travel or who has some need to travel for either discretionary or probably any kind of a needful base travel. Technology has really helped. Like I said, now we don't feel like we are one team. It feels like that we have cohorts of 5 or 10 teams, right? A lot of innovation and research time is saved. Very often, at least once in a week, we are able to find that there is one innovation that is cracked by Indigo team based out of Gurgaon, or AbhiBus team sitting in Hyderabad, or even Confirm Ticket, the trains team in Bangalore. It could be anything. It could be any kind of a new app functionality release, or any kind of a marketing tool that we figured out, or even working with the on the brand building side. There are tons of learnings that are flowing from 3 or 4 directions that merge and having a common objective, which, like I said in the beginning, it's about the customer. So if they have a learning about a release or a program that helped the customer, immediately it's been passed on to the other LOB, other line of business, right? Like even Assured. I don't now remember, AbhiBus launched AbhiBus Assured in August 2021. I don't remember whether Indigo launched Assured before us or we did launch. Indigo also has an Assured program, Confirm Ticket has an Assured program, and AbhiBus has an Assured program. Both have, maybe the features are different, but the customer sentiments that these things are trying to cover are the same. So it really helps when you have like-minded people solving the same kind of customer problems. It saves a lot of time and energy and money, of course.
Right. So now let's talk about tech, because I think that's I mean, I can't even imagine the kind of innovation that you need to keep this machinery going. So during peak season, when your systems are getting hammered and there are so many things and variables at play, what are you doing? How are you strategizing your operations to make sure that your system stays rock solid 24/7?
Yeah, so we often talk about this, that there are multiple Indias within India, right? So there are always an opportunity to battle test our systems, at least every quarter, if not every month, right? So we saw Prayagraj, probably the biggest event that Earth could possibly see, right? And I would say we were prepared even before that, because we have seen COVID, right? Where we had to help a lot of people find their buses when the buses did not exist, right? When borders were sealed. So specifically for Prayagraj, and the lesson that we learned from Prayagraj were used in IPL, and then the lessons that we learned from IPL are going to be used henceforth. So in Prayagraj, the buses were stopped 50 kilometers before the city border. So we had to, again, from idea to production, we had to react fast. We are not just a technology company, but we are also an on-ground enabler. So we had to talk to hotels, we had to talk to the EV companies, the rickshaw companies, to make sure that passengers and the women and elderly who are dropped 50 kilometers before the city entrance, we had to help them get into the city safely. Fast forward, IPL happened, right? We decided to join hands with CSK team, and we opened up floodgates of demand. When you do this kind of a bigger big brand partnership, you get a lot of demand from that market. Now Tamil Nadu is an extremely opposite market to Prayagraj, but the interesting part is, when all of this is happening, a Tamil Nadu operator is traveling from Coimbatore to Prayagraj. When an IPL is happening, suddenly somebody staying in Lucknow wants to travel to Chennai. This is the most exciting part of staying up. Because you have to not just fix your tech infrastructure, being able to take that kind of a load, but also your on-ground infrastructure, your operations team that works right tied to the hip with the bus operators and the customer. Because if you connect the bus operator to the customer loosely, you will not find a resolution. If you have a disciplined class monitor in between, who's there to solve the problem, making sure everybody understands everybody's language, I think these are the things which are very exciting, and then that gives us a confidence that tomorrow in Madhya Pradesh now there is a Ardh Kumbh happening next month, and that could also be another opportunity to battle test our systems. But these, like I said, in India you will have these opportunities every quarter, if not every month.
Right. So there's so much new tech coming up every day. We hear about advancements in AI, and now there's IoT. There's so much stuff going on. How does AbhiBus plan, on using all of these new tech to improve customer experience even more?
Yes, so see, we are blessed that we are dealing with the technology landscape where there is an amalgamation of hardware and software. So we are dealing with a bus that has telematics. Telematics gives you 1,000 inputs about how fast this driver drives, how crash prone is he with his driving style, is he smoking in the bus. So I'll tell you one live experience, and then I'll tell you the technology solution to that. A lot of bus drivers are excited to use Instagram, especially post midnight while driving, which is horrendous if you close your eyes and think about it, right?
Absolutely.
Now we have a motivation now to solve this with the use of technology, having a hardware in place, working with those hardware providers who have this tech that can detect difference between eating, smoking, and swiping the reels, and providing that as a input to not just the customers but also the service provider. And we are sitting at a central hub where all of this data gets passed, processed with the use of AI, take a decisive decision, and alert the people, authorities, and service providers, at large. So there are enormous opportunities that we have in our hand to solve a problem that can be a casual problem to solve and a life-threatening problem to solve at the same time. And this couldn't be possible unless it was for AI, where you have extremely fast image processing system, you have extremely accurate LLM models, you have so many models being built by open source communities which can be used now. So yeah, I mean, we some of these things obviously we can't discuss because some of these things are proprietary, which we are still working on, which we could launch tomorrow, next year, which takes time. Have to work with the infra providers also to make sure that the authorities are in line, the abuse that happens. We recently joined hands with T-Safe, which is an initiative by Telangana Police, which lets the police track the device location in case of an SOS. Now it seems simple, but in bus you're not just one passenger traveling. There could be threat to one person, there could be a threat to a particular gender, or even the entire bus. Now figuring out the problem, alerting the authorities, and also being able to enable a cross-border ability for police to shake hands and solve a problem is something that requires a lot of tech integration. So like I said, it could be a small problem, it could be a very complex problem, but thanks to the use of technology and what we hear from our customers, I think every day there is a new problem to solve.
So I have another question here. What's the coolest way or the coolest use case that you figured out for AI that you're currently using and you're absolutely proud of it, and that's currently in use?
We have a feature called Bus Insights, which is quite deep tech. We have just launched the first variant of that. Now, what Bus Insights does is it predicts the age and the number plate of bus that you will get even if you're booking 10 days hence. Now think about yourself as a bus operator who has 100 buses. On this particular service that I'm booking from Delhi to Manali, you could send any of those 100 buses. But the AI that we use is able to predict with almost 90% accuracy and also being able to display to you on your search result page among 500 buses that this service that you're choosing is going to be this number plate. And guess what? When you double click on that, you are able to walk inside the bus. It's an immersive experience that you are able to see inside and outside of your bus, which you are going to board after 10 days. I'm pretty sure that no airlines or train or any bus service provider would have done that. Now, this is so exciting that I feel like that probably an airline should also do that, because a tall passenger, a big passenger, or a passenger who does not like a specific kind of seat should be able to see a flight inside out and being able to say that which is the plane that I'm going to board. We all know generic model names. Probably not that much in flights because there is a standardization. In buses, it could be a specific Ashok Leyland model which can be tweaked and configured in 100 different ways by the local bodybuilders. So this particular industry had this need that somebody had to stand up, do that investment, because there are complex camera devices. I'll show you the camera that I'm carrying right now. It is Insta360 X5 camera, which is a 360 camera, which has to be tweaked with a particular software for you to capture that bus that the customer can walk and see the immersive experience of. So this was one of the coolest tech that we recently introduced, and we have about upwards of 5,000 buses which are ready with this solution that you can walk in and out.
But this is incredible. I mean, it solves a really big problem that you don't really know what kind of bus you're walking into. So this is incredible. I think that is definitely a very cool use case. I think everybody uses their phone for everything, like we spoke of. I told you that I think I can live my entire life through my phone, I feel like. So, and of course, for AbhiBus, mobile is incredibly important. But I want to understand what are the challenges that you're facing to ensure that your mobile app or your platform is seamless on the phone? And from the perspective of operations, what are you doing to make this entire experience better for your customers?
Yeah, so if you notice that bus online booking is probably the only mode of transportation where you have to select your seat before you confirm your payment. So in case of trains or flights, you make your payment, you say that I want to travel from Delhi to Chennai, and then you are offered a particular service.
Yeah.
In buses, the first step is that you have to select your seat. It's almost like book my show, just for your understanding, right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of customers may not find it easy, and also there are various challenges. There could be 15 to 20 price combinations of seats. It's not like book my show where the entire PVR is singular price, or there could be two types of pricing. A sleeper berth could be more expensive than a hybrid seater within the bus. The last seat could be more expensive, and then prices also keep changing. So the complex part is to make it presentable and easier for any gender, age to seamlessly do it. And we're really fascinated by what Steve Jobs used to say, that I'm not going to build a product that my family and friends are not going to use. So we really encourage our staff and our team members and our parents also to try using it. And we feel that if my father, who's 71, can book a bus ticket on AbhiBus without anybody's assistance, it means that the future for online bus ticketing is very bright, right? So one of the challenges that we face is that customers often do not understand the date that they have selected, because the steps are a lot, and by the time you book your or make your payment, you might have selected a wrong ticket. Now again, this motivation came through some customer feedback, and then again we became probably the first OTA for buses to launch free cancellation about 5 years back, right? Where the customer, once they have booked the ticket from AbhiBus, they can freely, for any service, even government buses also, you can cancel and you can get a free refund. Now again, in the back end, there were so many complications, convincing the partners, taking government approvals. But free cancellation, because of an accidental date selection, is something, another mobile first feature that we launched, because the real estate is small and you have to do a lot of complex touch points there. If it done by mistake, then obviously you can use that feature and get your full refund.
Right. So of course, customers are extremely important in your line of business. But then let's talk about the operators. You have 4,000 plus operators at AbhiBus. And I just think about how managing one friendship or two is so difficult. And then now we're talking about 4,000 operators. And again, different sizes. Maybe some are modern, they have a modern fleet, and there are some family-run businesses. How are you managing so many different operators and making sure that they're happy with the kind of business that they're running with you, and you're happy with the kind of service that they're providing?
Yeah, the most exciting part is we have stopped looking into this number, because this number grows. There are almost 300 to 400 new operators that are introduced, because it is very easy to buy a bus. It is typically give or take 1 crore rupees of investment, and you can just put 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees an investment, you can become a bus operator. This is actually very good for the industry, because there are a lot of routes where you still don't have a lot of competition. So first thing first, because you talk about our bus operators, bus partners, we have another tech arm which helps them to grow their business. So we have an app called AbhiBus Edge, which is an app built for the bus operators. Almost 4,000 plus operators are using that every day, which gives them those AI-based insights and signals that this is the route that you could launch, which could be more profitable. This is a pricing guidance that we are giving you, so that if you launch your route at this price, you could have a better occupancy, etc. Now, with the use of technology, it has become rather easier to handle 4,000, or it could be in the future 40,000 operators, because you have a DIY tool which lets you onboard, check your invoices, file your taxation, run your discounts, measure your occupancy level, and also an AI tool that also tells you, are you doing good? Are you doing better than others? Because we are blessed that, again, we are an aggregator and we have data of everyone. We never sell the data. We never charge our operators for that data, but we feel it's our job to tell on a scale, where do you stand with your quality? Now we process close to about 8 to 10,000 reviews written every day on our platform. Now, it's not just the review by the customer for this operator, it is also a reflection whether that route is bad. You have certain states and cities where the services in general are not very professional. It also gives you as a signal as an operator that I could rise and make an exceptional quality of service, and I could become number one in that state or the route. So it is fascinating. It is troublesome at the same time to deal with 4,000, 4,500. That count could be 5,000. Now we stopped counting because it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But the fascinating part is we are also looking at close to about 500,000 routes and a population of 1.4 billion who travel by buses. Almost everyone would have traveled by bus in last 2 or 3 years, and
Yeah.
the count is also growing very fast. So I wish that we have that count growing more. We could have 10,000 operators. There is also a sense of improving credit facilities. If the flow of money is easier in the market, there'll be more bus operators that can afford to buy a bus, get that experience, disrupt, because sometimes you just need that smaller dog in the fight to disrupt the entire fight and change the behavior of others. So I still feel that the future could be brighter, and this number could be probably 6,000-7,000 in next 1 decade.
Incredible. I think the kind of thought process that goes into managing all of this is commendable. So COVID was a really difficult time for everyone, but I think for the travel space, it affected you guys more than a lot of other industries in the world. So I want to know, how did AbhiBus navigate through COVID? And also, what are some things and some practices that you adopted back then that you're still implementing and you're still using, and it makes you think, why were we not doing this before?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the instant refund. Like I mentioned earlier, we were the first OTA to go back and tell, if your bus has not arrived, if the bus service enabler or the operator cancels the bus, or even you decided to cancel your tickets, you should not wait for 48 hours or 72 hours or 7 working days, etc. We, during COVID, only took a bold decision that we're going to process every single transaction irrespective of the mode of payment, whether it is UPI, that time UPI penetration was not as good, or credit card, debit card. Even if the refund from the banker side comes to us late, we would go ahead and process that refund to the customer.
Wow.
The technology improved and now it is more commoditized. But I think this is something that we were very proud of, that we sensed a problem. People were cash strapped. People did not have better means, and every 1,000 rupees meant a lot of, and we were obviously getting a lot of demand from the market. So I think this is one quick reaction to the customer problem, even though it costed us a lot. I think the other reflection I'll take upon, which COVID taught us, or the troubling time taught us, is also how to work like a team. This is often a very understated fact for every company. Usually it is just a line item in the HR's presentation that we have this attrition rate or we have hired those many people. Recently, when we celebrated our 18th work anniversary, we celebrated the number of people who bought a car or a house in last 1 year, because often it is only the immediate colleagues who really care about that. But the company recognizing, celebrating and applauding, and it is absolutely their hard work. Company is just maybe a platform. But when you reflect upon the times when the buses were not moving and hence the company was also standstill, fast forward today when everybody is having a blissful life, is one reflection. During COVID, a lot of us lost our immediate relatives, parents, etc. That time, the way everyone came together, created pool of money, helped everyone, and didn't even try to show off that we did this for you. A lot of our colleagues still don't know when their father was ill and admitted in ICU, who all contributed to that pool. That I think travels miles along in a relationship, and hence, again, not to reflect upon that metrics, but yes, the attrition rate is near zero. The kind of harmony we see on the floor, we used to say that in COVID, that the real company, we are the great place to work. Indigo and AbhiBus, we have that tag, but we used to tell during COVID that the dream is when we see them at 9:30 or 10 a.m. in the office, you feel like going to office. You're not forced to go to the office, and it's more of a cultural thing, right? We want to debunk that culture where half of the people don't enjoy coming to office. We never imposed working from office or home as a mandate. We had a completely flexible policy. But even during the peak of the COVID, you would see near 100% attendance in the office. And even today also, when I look back almost last 7 days, everyone came to the office not by choice or compulsion. It's just by design, that you feel like a family and you feel like going to office and meeting and greeting each other.
Right. And I think culture really plays an important part here. Did you feel like after your acquisition, did that culture change? Because this is all fluid, right? What was the impact of the acquisition on the culture at AbhiBus?
See, it did play a role. I think the first and honest one is that financially we felt more comfortable, right? And I think it's also fortune favors the brave. The IPO happened last year, right? IPO was a grand success.
Yeah.
It never came to our head. It's just that, you know, we were so focused on building business processes that when that merger happened, the cultural sync just happened for one problem at a time, solving that problem and celebrating together. So not even for a day we felt like that we are sort of working with another team, right? A lot of our people, you know, sit in each other's offices. Like AbhiBus doesn't have, you know, office in every city, but our people in Karnataka go back to the Bangalore office. Some people in Gurgaon come back and sit in the Indigo office. It is not a policy document. It is not designed, right? But they all look forward to meeting each other during offsites or these kind of festivals, right? I think it is very easy to say, but now that I'm thinking, it just happened seamlessly. There was no HR program ran to convince each other that we are same culture. There is no drawing on the walls that says this is our cultural statement. We don't have those, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think if you ask me what is that culture, it is very difficult to define in one word. Probably you mentioned 2-3 times empathy. So maybe that is the word: empathy towards one another, empathy towards the customers, right? And then rest all is maybe a offshoot in terms of a commercial success, whether as an individual you gaining more commercial success or as an organization gaining more commercial success, is all a byproduct of that culture.
Brilliant. And this is a really silly question. I mean, you've traveled extensively, but is there still a part of the country in India that you haven't visited yet?
Absolutely, a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I think very incidentally, and I want to go to Kashmir now. I've been telling because I booked one. This was before even I joined AbhiBus. I traveled a trip to Kashmir with my wife, and that year had one of the most devastating floods in Kashmir. The entire Kashmir tourism came to the knees, and it was not very. It was not much decorated and discussed. But we missed that opportunity that time, and we never got a chance. And recently, when the unfortunate Pahalgam incident happened, you know, while observing those news, and then thankfully Operation Sindoor and everything settling, me and my wife discussed and said our next vacation has to be in Kashmir because you know the spirit of the city. The spirit of the state should never die. That night, me and my wife discussed that, you know, 26/11 happened, and incidentally, both of us were in Bombay after 7 days after the incident. So when we did not stop, it was a business trip for both of us. Why should we cancel our leisure trip just because one incident happened, right?
Absolutely.
So so the short answer is I really want to go to Kashmir this time around.
Amazing. Okay, so now we're nearing the end of the conversation, and I think the last question would be very fitting if I ask you. Let's sit. You know, let's have you sit in a time machine, and let me take you to 2030. Now, I want to see how do you envision the travel industry. If I was to say, I was to go from, let's say, Jaipur to Goa, what would that journey look like? How would AbhiBus be involved in that entire process? And like how will I be interacting with you, and what would my entire journey look like?
Yeah. So I think the process has already started. The short answer is that the bridge between the air travel, train travel and bus travel will become even narrower. You picked up a brilliant example of Jaipur to Goa, which is a very long route, which is already running, by the way. The longest bus goes from Coimbatore to Prayagraj. It goes from Hyderabad to Delhi. So all thanks to the brilliant road infrastructure that got built in last a decade or so. And I think it is only getting better. Probably the icing on the cake would be even longer capacity batteries in the EV buses, which are, again, when you merge the cushioning of an EV bus, because it has a battery pack in the center of gravity and it is more planted on the road with amazing roads that we already have, I think the journey experience will get better. So you might not have to in 2030 charge an EV bus when you are traveling from Jaipur to Goa. You will have for sure an EV bus that will have the sleeper coupe in it. The length of the buses could probably increase further. The longest bus right now is 14.5 meter. It could, my dream is it could be like a 30-meter long bus, which will have like a train on the roads, because your highways are going to be a more amazing and straight line. And I think there'll be more and more Gen Zs and D-Gens that will be happy to travel by buses. I think that's one massive tsunami of passengers that we are expecting to start traveling by bus, because I think bus will be fashionable. There could be maybe some celebrity who will introduce a bus look, like an airport look that happened in last 5 years. And then I think people will fall in love with bus travel once again.
Amazing. So after such a successful relationship with, I think, CSK and Dhoni now, do you think that this relationship is going to go on, especially between AbhiBus and cricket? How do you see that playing out?
You see, bus in general and cricket are very closely tied. There's no stadium in India where you don't have a direct bus from the capital city. The reason we decided to join hands with Chennai Super King, because I think it is one of the most passionate franchise. The amount of passion, I don't think we can compare the passion that any state has with each other. But they say that Chennai crowd has a different kind of a cricketing sentiment. We also wanted to have a specific focused approach on that state, and hence we have tied up with Tamil Nadu Premier League also right now, which has a few franchise within the state. The common denominator here is that we have noticed that on the day of the match, thousands of people travel that particular city. Currently with Chennai Super King and then going forward with TNPL, these matches are happening in Salem and Coimbatore and Trichy. And we see already a lot of people traveling from Hyderabad to these cities, or Bangalore to these cities, or Bombay to these cities to watch match. And I think it is an understatement to say that Indians are cricket lovers. So all of us are. We all remember the records and the number of sixes, etc. And hence we spoke about Super 60 and Super 40 offer also, where you get 60% discount every time a player hits a six. It is getting carried into the Tamil Nadu Premier League also as we speak.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more of AbhiBus and cricket together.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now it's time for the most fun, I think, segment of this entire podcast, which is the rapid fire. I'm sure you already know I'm going to ask you some questions and you need to answer as soon as you can. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question is, window seat or aisle seat?
Aisle seat.
What's your biggest travel pet peeve?
It used to be earlier kids crying, but then I got married and I have a 7-year-old son.
Oh my God. Okay. Are you a coffee person or a tea person during long strategy meetings?
Tea person.
Okay. If you could only use one travel app for the rest of your life, other than AbhiBus, what would it be?
Ixigo.
Oh God, you're loyal. Okay. Best business advice you've ever received?
So I used to work very close with Mr. Ramalinga Raju of Satyam, and he told me one amazing thing. He said, when you commit a mistake for the first time, you celebrate it. But when you do it for the second time, you should mourn about it. So in business, it is okay to do mistakes, but then if you keep repeating that and you don't care about that, I think that's a crime.
Okay. AC bus or non-AC bus for a 12-hour journey?
AC bus, of course.
Okay. Early morning departure or late night travel?
Late night travel.
Okay. One word to describe the Indian bus travel industry?
Fascinating.
If AbhiBus were a Bollywood movie, what would it be called?
Bus industry in general used to be Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, but I think with this kind of an infrastructure, it is Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you need to complete the sentence. The future of travel in India is?
Very promising.
Awesome. Okay. And finally, if you had to recommend one underrated destination that everybody in the country should visit, what would it be?
Kodaikanal.
Why?
I think in the south, it is one of the most fascinating, temperature controlled and very scenic, very beautiful scenic views. And when you go by the buses, you see some amazing ghat views also.
So thank you so much, sir, for that conversation. And you too, I hope you liked this conversation and enjoyed getting to know about the behind the scenes of this operational magic that makes sure that millions of Indians travel efficiently every day. For more such conversations, subscribe to Mobile App Daily, and I'll see you in the next podcast.